Alright guys, welcome back to VALORANT News. After Sentinels' recent victory at the Africa TV tournament, FNS has given his opinion on how well this team is playing at the moment, saying that as far as he's concerned, in many ways, they're actually a better team right now than the Sentinels 2021 team was that won Reykjavik in dominant fashion. What does that mean though when the season gets underway? As FNS seems to believe, this is the best version of Sentinels we're really going to see. What does that mean when other teams potentially improve and get even better? Can they maintain this current form as well when the season gets underway? Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I would greatly appreciate it. Plenty to get into. If you guys didn't see yesterday's video, DRX have officially parted ways. Well, they haven't parted ways yet, but RB and Zest are restricted free agents. And as Willminder says, after 1,647 rounds and 78 matches together, one of the longest standing cores in VCT history has come to an end, with RB and Zest officially gone. Now, as I said yesterday, the fact that they're making them restricted free agents, it's kind of clear that they're intending to part ways with these players. This is no longer like, oh, we'll see what happens with Flashback and Foxy9. This is, we're moving on from you. So, as RB says, sorry that many people have been taken aback by this surprising news. I'll become a restricted free agent, and it'll be a difficult journey for a while, but I'll continue to challenge Valorant and try and take it on. So, hoping the best, of course, for those guys. But as we saw, Flashback has been added to the roster with a 2027 contract. So, they must be very optimistic that Flashback is the future for DRX. I mean, they've put him on a mega contract for another, like, 4 seasons. So, they obviously committed to Flashback being their long-term option, and it was also spotted on the database that RB and Zest have been moved into a reserve position while they try and sell them effectively. Of course, an interesting decision from DRX, because they could have made this decision months ago and probably actually sold RB and Zest then, or they could have released them as unrestricted free agents. But, you know, they could have decided to make these transitions a few months back and put Flashback and Fox9 in then, and then they could have probably sold RB and Zest. The issue is, of course, now the season's about to start, so most teams have their rosters. You know, so RB and Zest on the market doesn't necessarily mean much, and that means they're still going to get paid to be on the bench, you would well imagine. Also, it was confirmed that Frost, who is, well, you guys might know this guy, former 100 Thieves coach, was involved in some friction and drama back in the day. He's now on Talon, and so Talon T1, they made some interesting decisions. He's now there with a 2025 contract that was seen yesterday. This also from Can on Edward Gaming. We saw that EDG didn't have the performance they wanted. They finished top 6 alongside DRX at the Africa TV tournament, but there was only 8 teams there, so not massively impressive. They couldn't get out of their group, actually, which was, I would say, somewhat surprising going into the tournaments, given that they had T1 and Liquid in their group. Like, you know, they should have been able to get out of it. But as Kang says, we are tired, the coaches are tired, the whole team is tired. They've played so much. This is kind of crazy, right? 54 official series they have played this year, 22 of those in the last 2 months. So to think about that, for the regular season, during the majority of the year, they played like, okay, 30 odd matches, which is about right. But in the last 2 months, they've played 22 series, so much in this China Evolution series, right? Which they didn't necessarily need to play well or do that well in, because they were going to get confirmed into franchising anyway as Edward Gaming, but they still won all of them. Towards the end, it was quite clear that they were struggling more than they did previously. But as Kang says, do you expect me to maintain a 100% competitive state after playing 5 offline tournaments in 2 months? To be honest, if you think you can do it, come and replace me at EDG. So we'll see what they decide to do going into the new year, whether the coaching staff and Edward just say, look, you know what, let's take 2 to 3 weeks off. Let's just completely chill, reset, relax, and come back stronger with the new year, because they're clearly a team with a lot of strength, but they underperformed at the Africa TV tournament. I think it's understandable as to why, but they've got to manage how they get back into their groove, because they're going to need to take some time off, but maybe that's not in the culture of the team to want to do so. Speaking of the Chinese scene as well, this is the grouping for the Ascension tournament. So we've seen the other Ascension tournaments have already happened, but there's only 10 teams in the Chinese league that have been confirmed as partnered spots. So by the end of December, on the 30th of December, we will know which of these 8 teams will also go up. So This is going to be a GSL style group, so these are the 4 teams. We don't yet know what the first round matches are going to be. I wonder how that'll be determined, or if it's just going to be randomized. But these are the respective groups. So Rare Atom in this group with NIP, and then we've got ASC in the other side of the group. So pretty interesting. 2 of the teams from Group A will get through to the second round. 2 of the teams from Group B will get through to the second round, and then it's a 4-team double elimination bracket to determine the champion of Ascension, and then of course they will be in the Chinese League for the new year, which is very promising for them. Just quickly on Carmine Corp as well, we'd seen this roster rumoured for some time. This year, the voices are silent or something. Our team for the 2024 season of the VCT EMEA. So Shin, Magnum, Tomasi, Narrate, and then of course Martin as well with Eng and Zayach as the coaching staff over there. So I like what they're going for with this team. I don't exactly know what's going on with Scream and Navera right now, like exactly what their future's going to be, but of course they're long gone, and Tomasi and Narrate are coming in. Not 100% sure what the roles are going to be. I don't know if Narrate's maybe going to flex a little bit, but it is very interesting to see how this kind of tier 2 North American talent is getting exported everywhere and getting imported everywhere. We saw recently with Ban, for example, and certainly Rossi to T1 was kind of a wild move, and that worked out so far, at least for T1. Yes, they got bodied by Paper X when they played them in that series in the semi-finals most recently, but apart from that, T1 looked really good, and Rossi looked great in that system. So there's a big trend right now of American talent in kind of tier 2 going to other regions. The only region where this hasn't really happened yet, I guess, is China. So I guess we'll see whether SOM and FNS end up in the Chinese League somewhere playing for BLG again. But yeah, so Narrator's joining these guys. That's the confirmation there. Really interesting to see how these guys get on. I kind of like this roster actually, but we'll see if Narrator can keep up the trends of North American, like kind of tier 2 level talent. Let's not forget he was linked to NRG as well. So not like a good player for sure, absolutely. But we'll see if he can have similar impact than we might expect, given that by the numbers, the Americas are the strongest region. If you look at last season, the amount of matches won by Americas teams versus EMEA or versus APAC teams, Americas are the strongest region. So maybe it also makes sense they have the strongest tier 2, and that's why we're seeing this. Whether it keeps working out, because if EMEA teams and APAC teams keep importing NA talent and it keeps working, then they're not probably going to stop anytime soon. But let's talk about Sentinels, right? They're coming back, I imagine, from Korea relatively shortly, but they're still enjoying their time out there after winning the tournament most recently. But FNS has given some great thoughts on this, and, let's not forget, it's kind of wild how this whole saga has gone down with Zelsis coming in and effectively dismantling the DRX roster in some ways by taking them down in the way they did, and also putting Pancado to the bench of the team effectively. And we talked about the other day what Pancado might want to do going forwards. Could he leave? Could he go to a potentially Brazilian core team? We'll see, but he's still getting paid to be on the bench over there, so I guess it's not too bad to still be part of Sentinels in that way, but I'm sure he wants to compete. Question is, can Sentinels maintain this level? They frankly dominated Paper X in the grand finals, a 3-0, one of the best teams in the world in Paper X for sure. The way that they handled business there was, incredibly impressive. And it was the way Sentinels won. It wasn't the fact that they won, I would say. It was more the manner in which they won, the domination of many of the series they played. They were winning in all ways. They were clutching rounds. They were having great defensive strats, great offensive strats, good mid-rounding. Like, everything you'd want to see in a Sentinels team was basically here for Sentinels. And this is what FNS says, that this team is not just straight up outskilling opponents like they were back in Reykjavik 2021 when TENS had just a ridiculous individual level and they won, everything for a brief period of time. That's the Sentinels that a lot of SEN fans want them to get back to, right? SEN 2021, that's what is idolized because that's when they won Masters Reykjavik. But actually FNS says the team he saw play this past weekends is in some ways better than that Sentinels 2021 team because they're not winning off outskilling Paper X. They're winning by outplaying Paper X, which is a different story. But also FNS says, as far as he's concerned, this is the best this team can play. He doesn't think they can play much better than this. This is like peak performance Sentinels. So if other teams get better, and also if at some point, as surely they will, Sentinels fall off even just slightly, then it's a different story.
But the question is, can they maintain the form? Yes, that's my question.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. There's no way Sentinels keeps up this form forever. And if they do,
they win.
They will win everything. They'll actually win everything.
They're playing at a level where they're making the opposition look bad, and the opposition is actually insanely good.
Dude, you put it like that, it's...
That's my point, is like that's how good they're playing. So this form is very hard to maintain. If they can do it, yeah, they're top 3 easy. But to keep this kind of form up consistently is very, very difficult to do tournament to tournament to tournament because they're showing a lot and other teams aren't showing that much. So unless they can consistently keep innovating, it's hard to be consistent in this game and keep your form up individually. Which one is better, their 2021 roster? Well, there's a difference between 2021 Sentinels and this Sentinels. First of all, the game is different now, but also the 2021 Sentinels were individually actually better than a lot of the players they were playing against. They dominated individually. This team, like, they're actually outplaying their opponent, so I don't really know. Like, these guys have layers to their defense side that they've never had before, or at least I haven't seen before. And they're doing things I haven't actually seen
What's up,
anyone
Sam? How
do.
can I help?
I don't think it's just John Cutie's IGLing, but I think it's making a huge difference in the way that they're playing. Each player is taking the correct amount of space. This is a peak form. This is the best I think they're capable of playing. I don't know how they can play any better than this. But the question is, can they maintain the form?
So this, of course, that Sentinels team that won Masters Reykjavik without dropping a single map with 10s here, of course. We had Shazam, Dapper, Zoms, and Sig. It feels a very long time ago, but that was the team of 5 at the time that is, idolized really in Sentinels history as dominating that part of the season. And then 2022 was a very different story. 2023 was meant to be the season where they, were clouted beyond belief and also won everything. Didn't happen. Maybe 2024 is going to manage to be that season because FNS's opinions are always interesting to hear about. He knows a lot about Valorant, knows a lot about FPS games, knows a lot about how to achieve and perform at the highest level. But his perspective that Sentinels can't get much better from here, and I guess it makes sense in a way. They've played with this roster for a few months now. They've practiced a lot behind the scenes. Obviously, things are clicking. Zellsis, to be honest, hasn't come in that long ago. So I'm of the opinion that they can still probably get better. If they'd had Zellsis in the roster for 3 months and they'd played non-stop hard practice with the team for 3 months, this is probably as good as they're realistically going to get. Like, they understand the meta well right now, they're doing really well. But Zellsis only came in not that long ago, really, in a month and a half maybe. So I still think there's room for improvement here for Sentinels with more practice and more time. And there's still some maps I think they can probably improve it as well based on their performance this, most recent tournament. But will they, at some points they're not going to play as well as this. The question I guess is, when that happens inevitably and they're not playing at the level they did recently, where are they? Because right now, the way they play this past weekends, they're a top 3 team in the world for sure. But if they don't play as well, let's say they're playing their B game, let's say we saw their S tier game or their A tier game this past weekends, if they play their B game, is that enough for top 6 or is that enough for top 12? We'll see. Time will only tell, but I thought some interesting perspectives there really from FNS on just how good this Sentinels team is and that he's expecting a lot from them, obviously, going into the new season. So very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.